So adding up to that, there's another question related to profile. Sanskruti is asking, is work experience important for a good profile? And there's another question from Jenny asking, what skills or knowledge do you believe are crucial for professionals in this field to develop?
Professor Kalyan.
Uh, yeah, so I think the first question is on work experience. Now, there are many ways of understanding this. Some of us would have had work experience by the time we applied to a business school. Some of us wouldn't have had. But I think it is more important to show your attitude to work, your work ethics. And you can demonstrate that with your participation, perhaps in community programs. Maybe there is a family business and how you helped a hand. Maybe there is something that you may have done as charity drive or some sort of a social work. So, are you looking forward to getting things done? Are you looking forward to understand human beings? Are you trying to get close to them? Does that excite you? Does that energize you? Or are you a type of person who is very happy sitting in a place, sitting in a conditioned office and analyzing the data? So I think they're trying to understand that. If you do not have work experience, obviously there isn't anything that you can talk about in terms of actual going to a 9 to 5 job. But whatever else you may have done, it could be any of those things, as I mentioned. And if you can show and if you can string a story together as to how this puts you ahead of another person, how it makes you feel qualified for this particular slot that the business school might have, that is going to be that much more valuable. Remember, everything else can be matched. Your grade can be similar, your institute can be similar, the subjects can be similar. But what I will never be able to match is what you have done and what you have achieved and under what circumstances. So that is real you. And if you can craft your definition and your differentiation around that, you will stand out. Now, in the US, when you apply to business schools or engineering school, they will call for a statement of purpose. It is not about being lofty and being very, very voluble about your qualities, but it is about your true, authentic self. Can you describe yourself? What challenges you faced? How did you surmount some of those challenges? What did you do? And what has that made you as a person? See, that is not something anyone else can do. So if you can tell your story very well, there you have it. This is, this may not be work experience, but then this is as close to work experience and as close to the learnings from work that I have got to. Professor Vikram?
Yep. Thank you, Professor Kalyan. I fully agree with you. I mean, no second doubt about that. That experience does matter. And even if you've done internships, right, it gives you a learning. So experience and learnings becomes important from, it changes your mindset of how you're looking at certain things. A plain graduate who comes and applies for an MBA program would definitely be looking at, okay, I have only got this. But if they've done any internships, it helps them learn, gets you practical experience, gets you exposure to learning how things work. And that is something which is really important. And also changes the mindset, which is really important when you're looking at. If you don't do anything, then you are like, okay, you're blank. This is what I did, this is what I studied, and that's it. But when you have experience, you get to know hands-on understanding of how things operate, what are the kind of things are happening in the industry. And that really helps in changing the mindset and broadens your thought process. And as Professor Kalyan said, there has to be a statement of purpose. It's important that everybody writes that and tries to write it, because that really requires a lot of thinking about individual self. What am I? What am I trying to do? What value addition I'm adding? What kind of skill I'm trying to develop? And that really helps the individual. And I think that's really important.
So there's a question in the webinar chat from Darshit asking, adding on to the resume point, I think instead of having a standard traditional resume, how about having a more creative representation of the data in our resume? Like showing data using pie charts, symbols, etc. He is also attached a link, and he would like to hear your views on this.
Yeah, see, what I've seen is rather than the form, it's the content which matters. So you can use any number of different techniques or different presentation approaches for your resume. But what matters is what they're trying to understand is behind that piece of paper, who is the person? So who is Darshan? What has he done? And how will Darshan change the world once he comes to this school and graduates? That's what the admission committee is trying to understand. So how well he has put it, what font used, what format, whether it's written in Canva, written in PowerPoint, written in Word, that is secondary. And what is more important is how you tell a story with what you have got, how you string it together. How do you say, this is what I've done, this is my motivation, this is where I want to get to, this is what I've done, and therefore I'm here today. So that's what I think. So I don't think we should really spend that much time thinking about the the format or the form. We should really obsess ourselves with the content and reflect very deeply about who I am, what do I want to do, and what do I want to achieve.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I mean, the content is the most important aspect. You can design whatever way with new formats coming in, whether it's PowerPoint or Canva or on the PowerPoint or on the Word document. But it's the content which matters. What you are should be there on your resume, and you talk about it and share about how you've gone about doing it. Things there could be certain things which you have really worked hard on it and you struggled with it, but it does not come on the CV. But when you share your story, how you have achieved it and how did you go about, that matters. And that is something really important, which talks about who you are as an individual. And I think that's where the focus is always when there's an interaction happening with students.
So we have one more question in the Q&A box asking, does career gap affects while building a good profile despite being a grader throughout?
So this student, when he was asked about why there is a gap, so he said after doing his graduation, he was in two minds. And he wanted to know whether he should get into some kind of a small business with a local rural community in Andhra Pradesh, which was making wooden dolls, or he should join a business school program and learn business or learn the ropes of doing business much better, and then go back and use that knowledge to sell those wooden dolls that that particular rural community was engaged in. So that decision making process took him 1 year. And during this period, this is what he did. But he was so passionate about what he spoke about that even today, some of the professors remember that the conviction with which he came across, his passion for helping a rural community, and the fact that he took some time in deciding about what to do in this intervening 1 year did not stand in the way between him and the admission process. So the short answer is, if you can explain it, it really doesn't matter. They will understand as a human being what you have gone through.
Yep, I fully agree. I mean, if you can explain why that gap is, whether you took a break to travel across the country to visit, or you took a break for preparing for your entrance exam, but you explain it, the rationale why you took a break, and give a full explanation, I think that's not a concern. It addresses all the issues on that space. But you should have the conviction to explain why you did it and how it has helped you as an individual. That's important.
I think that answers all the questions in the Q&A box in the webinar chat.
One thing I'll also like to add is when students look at their scores from entrance exams and all, sometimes they get disheartened, but they should not totally think on that. They are competing with themselves, right? There's always a challenge that, okay, my friend got so much, or the other people are getting it, and it's difficult getting it. But they should be clear that they are competing with themselves and improving themselves. And that is very important. That makes them going forward, and that's really important.
Yeah, so I would like to add one point is you'll get your percentile score in various tests and so on. And these days, I think it's quite easy to sort of know and decide for yourself what kind of institute will you get into. And this is a critical discussion point. And many a times, you may think that these are the only institutes that you would like to approach, and these are the only institutes you'll consider. I would imagine, your whole career is a long game, and therefore have that perspective in mind. Be it institute, be it first job, be it the career, be it the company, it is all about what and how you can take advantage of the best chances that God will give us. So do not be disheartened that if you do not make it to one institute or the other. Be prepared and be flexible to join an institute, but make the most of it. Most of the curriculum, most of the extra curriculum, most of the learning, most of the internship and the placement. And the same thing for career. And that is how you will sort of actualize your true potential. And getting bogged down with, I got this percentile, which institute will I go to, and is that really good? Is that not that great? Ultimately, as adult learners, much of what we learn depends on ourselves. So it really doesn't matter which situation or which learning conditions you're finding yourself in, as long as you can take the best out of that learning program and you can upscale, you can learn yourself, whatever else is not taught. And that is how you develop yourself. So I wish you all the best. Okay.
So there's, sorry, you were saying something?
No, there's a question on freelancing.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah,
Does
that,